Yeah, often it's weird. Sometimes there'll be like a little patch of white that comes in behind you. It makes it look like you have a mohawk.
Yeah, well, that's
And
otherwise
sometimes you're just a head like Zordon from the Power Rangers.
That's what I want to be, just a disembodied head floating in space. That would be awesome.
Right on.
All righty. Okay, let's get this show on the road. We're doing one fantastic episode tonight for
and the final episode of Invincible should be out tomorrow?
Yes.
Later tonight?
Tomorrow morning is the final episode of Invincible, as well as, of course, tomorrow morning is the behind-the-scenes Avengers Assembled. So if you want to record on Saturday, we can do the first episode of Invincible and the first episode of Assembled. And Assembled will be the last one that's a Nuff Said double play. And then with Invincible, we'll just be doing full stream ahead until Marvel content comes back.
Right on.
Unless I get word that they want us to do Invincible, not enough said. But we'll do that as they want to do it. Okay, we're recording. We're all ready. I have my video, my whole thing here up. And, okay. Pardon my burps. In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, there are those who stand between us, the Flag Smashers, and the GRC. They are the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and this is Nuff Said. Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz. Welcome back to the final episode of Season 1. I
don't know if it's me or you, but you cut out for a good hot second. Because maybe they can edit you back in, but I think you're still frozen. Oh, there you are. Oh,
okay. Yep. Now we're back.
Yes.
Okay. 1 second. Just
no, it's not. It's telling me it was. I think it was my internet connection.
Your internet. Okay, so let's restart that.
Okay.
Okay.
Hopefully, it should be fine now. But I just got starting to rain.
No. Curse you, atmosphere. Okay.
All right, so I think where I cut off was saying today we're talking about Season 1,
okay.
Episode
1. Okay, so we got the first part. Okay,
yeah.
So we'll make Phil fix it. That's fine. Fixed it, Phil.
Thank you.
Today we're talking about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. One world, one people. Season 1, Episode 6. As the Flag Smashers escalate their efforts, Sam and Bucky take action. This, of course, was directed by the great Kari Skogland. Malcolm Spellman, of course, gets our written by, along with Joseph Sawyer. Malcolm Spellman gets our created by. Gene Colan gets the Sam Wilson, the Falcon, created by. Jack Kirby gets Bucky Barnes and Captain America, created by. Stan Lee gets Sam Wilson, the Falcon, created by, along with Joe Simon, who does Bucky Barnes and Captain America. Malcolm Spellman, again, is the head writer. Steve Epting did the art on the Winter Soldier. Ed Brubaker did the writing on the Winter Soldier. And I just got to say this. 1 second. To me, the breakout performance of this episode was Kevin Saunders, older man's friend. That is the gentleman who says, "Nah, that's Captain America." See, at first, because I wasn't sure, because you see him because you see some of his pictures and he's got his full beard. He looks like the Do a Flip guy. He's not the Do a Flip guy. He is a different actor, so I was kind of hoping
I just thought they were referencing that little kid who said his grandpa told him he was called Black Falcon. And I thought it'd
Well,
be a
yeah.
nice turnaround if that guy ended up being like, no. We're here. We're here.
Yes. Well,
You know?
yeah, the older guy could be that kid's grandpa. Maybe just a lot of the grandpas call him the Black Falcon
Yeah.
because they want that. Black and they're proud. What are you gonna
Right.
do?
Hey, me.
Exactly. Well, and that's what it is. But I love this episode. I love we get Falcon flying in. By the way, for those who are asking, I'm sure he called Rhodey, but Rhodey was like dropping tanks somewhere in Slovenia. You're looking for this. I'm sure, it's like, okay, who can I get? As I always say, one of the best things about during Infinity War was that basically the reason Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't show up because they had their own problem over in California at the time. They couldn't go fly over to Wakanda. They had issues in California. There's multiple world-ending events constantly happening. Don't be mad that not every superhero shows up.
Man, the rest of the universe really has it in for us, huh?
Well, this is the place where all the Infinity Stones show up. That we like.
That's fair.
Honestly, there's a book about it too, just about how in most on every other planet, radiation just kills you horribly, but here, 1 in 10 of you get superhuman powers from excessive amounts of radiation. At the end of the universe, all that will be left are microbes and Earthlings. They're awful. So yes, but moving right along, we get a really nice intro. We have Sharon Carter back in the States with the little mesh face mask to change what she looks like.
Yeah.
Which people say, oh, see, that proves she's not a Skrull. But does it though? Because if you were a Skrull and you wanted to change shape and there was a way to change your appearance, wouldn't you say, oh, see, I'm using the way that you mammals do it.
Right.
So
no,
just saying, I do not rule out Skrullness at any time. Never rule out Skrull. Ever since, Far From Home, you can't rule out everyone being a Skrull.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It's true. But, so we see that Sharon and Bucky are working together. We see that Sam goes in through the window, which it's not quite the same, but I do like that it sort of has a visual reference to Young Men Comics 24, which was the return of Captain America in the 1950s. It came out in 1954, and that has been retconned to be the return, the William Nussland story where they fight the Red Skull when he takes the UN hostage. So, that whole coming in through the window fight scene, I thought that worked out very nicely. We get the Batroc Falcon fight again.
Yeah.
Which I did enjoy. And there are people who say, well, why didn't Falcon just shoot him? Because he shoots people in other times,
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is, Batroc wasn't shooting at him, right? So
exactly, it's about proportional force,
right? Proportional response,
because the goal of law enforcement is de-escalation.
Right.
Say it with me, kids at home. De-escalation. So in this moment, he's fighting Batroc, and this is, of course, the delaying tactic, and this is all delaying tactics, and again, like I say, that is my favorite thing from Batroc's renaissance in the comics is him stating to people, you want me to slow down the superheroes. You're not hiring someone to beat the superheroes for you. That doesn't exist.
Right.
I'm the guy that slows down the superheroes so that you can make your escape. And that's exactly what Batroc does here, is he slows down Sam Wilson. Likewise, we have Kylie slowing down Bucky because we have one of the one of the Flag Smasher, Hail Hydra, the people who have infiltrated every level come in and hand him the cell phone. So that basically Kylie can monologue Bucky so that everyone can so that the plan moves forward.
It's just such an interesting moment where this person handing him the phone is obviously a Flag Smasher, but the image she gives off is, "Hey, I'm just a standby, a bystander. So you can't be." And he has him like, "Do I attack her, or is she just a civilian? What's the protocol here?" He goes, "All right, let me just answer the phone." It's just such a funny moment.
Yeah, but that is how the Flag Smashers work. Is they have all sorts of levels of people within their organization, and some people really are just protesters and marchers, people who walk in and hand you a phone. No crime committed, just hand James Barnes this phone.
Yeah, but if you got that phone from a known criminal, a known terrorist, there's some sort of transitory possession statute or something.
Well, yeah, but then again, you also have, so for example, and that whole idea of a known terrorist, you have, because as we've seen with modern culture, you can say someone says someone's a terrorist.
Right.
Are you going to necessarily believe they are a terrorist?
I'm just saying, from a legal perspective, it's like,
from a legal perspective,
or whatever, it's like you're involved in the whole, conspiracy, the whole enterprise.
Yeah, well, I mean that's one of those central questions of what is it, the January 6th,
Now, say Bucky takes that phone, walks into an ambush because of it, and is killed. Is that lady accessory to murder? I would say so.
Oh no, she's absolutely accessory to murder.
Right.
I mean, yeah, no, I'm not trying to minimize it, but again, it's about what's the proportional response, and also in this we have Bucky.
Right.
We have Bucky trying to effectively talk down Kylie. He's trying to use all these great skills he's learned from Sam, from his psychiatrist. He's like, I can do this, man. I can talk someone down. I can say I can feel where you're at. I can walk you through. But at the whole time, Kylie's just looking at him like, yeah, you old fool, and she is playing him, because even Karen or even Sharon says, when Bucky when Bucky finally gets there, he's like, Bucky, you had one job. And did you lose me there?
No, I just had to go close the door.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. Okay, I was worried there that I lost you. Yeah, but it's like, and Sharon says, Bucky, you had one job. Don't get distracted. And even immediately, as Sam, and this is sort of the limitations of being a superhero, Sam immediately tells someone when he gets in, it's like, they're trying to get us to leave. Don't let anyone leave the building. Captain America says so, especially when we all know Captain America's on the moon.
Right.
Yeah. It's, so that's the thing. And that's where we first get the Sharon is very evil reveal, because when she takes out her Flag Smasher, who's the big fat guy Flag Smasher, she takes him out with vaporized mercury, which is just, dang. She just melts that man's face off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although that's going to come into something I want to talk about at the end of the piece.
Okay. About
what really happened with all of our Flag Smashers, all of our dead Flag Smashers. Because I don't think we've seen the last of any of them.
So you're saying it could have been like a diversion, like meant to make everybody think they were all killed?
Well, that's one possibility, but there's also the possibility that, and this is the thing, because this is the thing with Lamar, which is that the Deathlock protocol already exists in the MCU if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So they already have this idea that, you can bring a body back and you can build in these cybernetic organisms and you can recreate these people. Now,
LSDs or that sort of thing, or
no, like just cyborgs.
oh,
Like Frankenstein cyborgs. That's essentially what the Deathlock Protocol is. Now, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the person who gets it, and I'm forgetting the actor's name, he's the guy who played Gunn on Angel. He was that actor. And he gets he gets all the cybernetic implants, but he also had he had a mixture of super soldier serum and extremis mixed into his bloodstream already. It was called Project Centipede. And so the idea of using super soldier bodies for these deathlocks, because here's the thing, this is what I've said, or I've said this earlier, and I've said this many times, is the real point of this isn't that super soldiers were good at, like, the decision to disband the super soldiers comes from the realization that when you have a super soldier, when you have a living weapon, there is nothing keeping that living weapon from deciding to turn on you and attack you. Whereas if you have technology-based heroes or villains or whatever, all you need to do is turn off their technology. And suddenly the person who was your threat is no longer your threat. Because you can just like Wakanda did when they turned off Bucky's arm. You know, when the Dora Milaje pop off the arm, it was their way of saying, you know, we made you and we can take you out if you decide to oppose us. And that's essentially the conundrum of, you know, you have these guys like General Ross who have this idea of the super soldier and imagine soldiers being these people who follow orders, but even non-super soldiers don't always follow orders, you know. But the conflict, the converse idea is that if you could create essentially Frankenstein cyborg soldiers, that would be the best of both worlds. You can turn them off if they rebel, but you could also have all of those advantages of a super soldier now with cybernetic enhancements. So I think we're going to see, I honestly feel that the Deathlock program is going to be coming directly out of this. I think that some of the people we've seen who were super soldiers will have survived, especially when we consider, again, comic history. People who get burned to death often come back. Sharon Carter burned to death when she was killed off in her first round before she came back as a villain. For those who don't remember, that the actual villainous turn of Sharon Carter actually is directly from the comics.
Wow.
So yeah, people who didn't realize that, it's like, yeah, that's in the comics. She gets abandoned behind enemy lines. And in fact, at the time, she said, yeah, I don't know, man, I guess S.H.I.E.L.D. disbanded for a while. And that's essentially what happened with her. Is like she took the actions in Civil War. She goes to ground. And then, of course, in that whole process that happens in the ensuing years, she's persona non grata from the CIA or S.H.I.E.L.D. She can't find a footing. She has to go and infiltrate the underworlds that she's in. She has to utilize the skill, that unique set of skills she has to survive. And that's how she winds up in Madripoor. And that is very much the history of that character in the comics. When she comes back, you know, she is that same, you know, cruel, cynical person, and is, you know, but trying to betray Captain America in that whole situation too. There's a whole thing with it. It gets pretty dark, but it comes around to its own conclusion as well.
That this is a means to an end, that she sees that she's got this incredible opportunity with the life and the connections that she's built in Madripoor to go even deeper. And this allows her to tempt that situation and get even deeper by bringing something seemingly of a lot of value to this person. But with the end goal in mind to eventually flip on him and then have a bigger case.
Well, or again, it's the idea that, oh, you know what? This is the idea that people say in this, which is like, oh, I guess Sharon's the power broker because Batroc calls her the power broker, and Kylie calls her the power broker, but Sharon never says I'm the power broker.
Right.
Instead, and this is my thing, I think she gives them like sort of this like knowing, not really a smirk, but just a knowing glare. The takeaway on this is that you see the I don't think there is a power broker. Power broker is the myth that the people of Hightown tell the people of Lowtown to keep them in line. They tell them, oh, there's the power broker, and they're the one in charge, and everybody, people in Hightown and people in Lowtown, we all have to do what the power broker says. Meanwhile, the actual people in Hightown know there's not really a power broker. There's probably at best maybe a collective of very powerful people in Hightown who have an understanding. But the idea of there being one power broker seems very unlikely.
Right. It seems like maybe that's just what they call the organization. It's like a mascot or a metaphor representing the interests of this conglomerate.
Exactly. And I think that Sharon within that serves a purpose. She serves a role.
But then who is the old man in the pickup truck saying, okay, great, they've been eliminated at the end?
Oh, well, that's Zemo's butler.
Oh, okay, that clears up a whole lot. All right.
Yeah, that's Zemo's butler. Yeah, there was a lot of confusion, and I wasn't quite sure who that guy was at first either. And I'm like, oh wait, that's right, Zemo's 800-year-old vampire butler.
Right, because I kept thinking maybe that's the real power broker, but then I was like, why would the power broker, do something so beneath his position as to be out, on a mission? You sit back and you let your lackeys handle this sort of thing. What do you? Okay, so that makes a whole lot more sense. He is a lackey. So I get that.
What really happened there? We see the truck burst into flames, but that's an armored car. So presumably everyone inside of it is encased in some kind of armor. I don't know that those flames necessarily reached the people inside. As they're going in, they get a little Hail Hydra, one world, one people.
Right.
From one of the guys who's putting them in there. I don't necessarily know. That's the thing. I don't accept that those guys are dead. Or if they are dead, what happened to them?
Right.
And of course, then you have, of course, everyone's favorite new character, the Countess, who, and here's the thing, I just have to say, the decision to cast Julia Louis-Dreyfus means they have got to bring Phil Coulson back. Just so we can have a scene of Phil Coulson and the Countessa interacting. Because in the New Adventures of Old Christine, Phil Coulson and Julia Louis-Dreyfus were exes. So
that's fun.
It's so much, and here's the thing. Although Julia Louis-Dreyfus has certainly raised her profile, I have to believe that the decision to bring her into this role probably has something to do with Clark Gregg already being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I can't believe that they made that choice without considering that, and of course, she and Clark Gregg have such a connection, Right, so the memes write themselves. That's all I'm saying. But we'll see what happens with that. That's the thing, and it's interesting because we have some great fights in this. We have these great battles. We have Sam refusing to fight Kylie, and when people want to give all the parallels, they say that Sam refuses to fight Kylie in the same way that Cap refused to fight Bucky, because in both cases, and it's an interesting parallel when you think about it, because in both cases, both people knew this person had a depth that was different than they were being shown. So that, yes, Bucky is actually brainwashed, but in this case, it's that Kylie is kind of, let Mama be. Anyway, have some yogurt. It's a healthy snack. Anyway, sorry. Where was I? So Kylie, well, she's not actively brainwashed. She is kind of in a mental state that is, it's youthful exuberance. It's the belief in a black and white world of heroes and villains.
And the danger with somebody of that state of mind is they force you to attack them back, but the moment you do, you prove their point. So They leave you between a rock and a hard place where you have your morals and your philosophies to stand on. But in order to do that properly, they're making it very, very hard on you. And just like the Joker with Batman, he's trying to prove a point that you're just like me. And that's the battle they're having. No, we're not all just like this. We don't all have the capacity to turn to this. You can be better. We can all be better. And we don't need to resort to this to get there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that, I think, that's what's happening here. And I think that is also its strength here. I mean, now, okay, so let me.
Connection's being a little annoying today. Sorry, Phil. All right, so that's not good. Hey, okay. All right, sorry.
There we go. You're back. Okay. So, do you think Batroc is dead?
No,
because he's wearing a flak jacket.
Right.
We don't see blood, and they've not shied away from blood in this show.
Right.
And, because my thing on that is actually that Sharon shot him in the padding just to take him out, not to kill him, because he's still a valuable asset. He thinks he knows things, but as I said, he doesn't know what he thinks he knows.
Right.
And there was actually a similar kind of thing in the Dark Avengers where the Great Gargoyle was trying to tell Moonstone who all of the Dark Avengers were, and aside from Moonstone, he gets them all wrong. Because he actually even thinks that Batroc the Leaper is Hawkeye. It's like, no, that's not. You have no idea what you're talking about. And that's sort of what Batroc is here. He's trying to negotiate, and it's just sort of putting him back in his place. Yeah. It's like, no, Batroc, bad Batroc.
Yeah.
I give you money because you serve a purpose. You slow people down. That is all you're ever supposed to do. You were supposed to slow Cap down so Black Widow could get the stuff out of the Lemurian Star, and you were supposed to slow Falcon down so that we could sort of can position the super soldiers where we needed them. And that's what was important. So no, I don't think Batroc's really dead. I'm not even sure Kylie's dead. Because even though we see that whole, you talk about your religious imagery with the wings, and he's holding the dead body, he's holding her body, and he puts her on the stretcher, and then the EMTs go to work. She is a super soldier. Right. They're going to pump her up with adrenaline. They're going to close her wounds. You might get that, jump back alive after the point, because quite frankly, why shouldn't she? Why shouldn't she survive given everything everyone else has survived?
Right.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of possibility here for us seeing Kylie again. I think anyone is on the table, especially once you introduce the Deathlock Protocol. Right. Because for what it's worth, the actual Flag Smasher in the books, he does come back, but he is sort of this mind-controlled. He's dead, but he comes back and he's like a mind-controlled zombie again. So there's
sounds
precedent.
Like Zemo's playbook.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Again, with Zemo, it's it's not that he doesn't like superheroes or even, well, he doesn't like super soldiers, but again, I think it's because they are a threat to order. Because if you have super soldiers, they can decide they don't want to follow orders. And if you are a guy like Zemo, order is maintained through rigid hierarchy. And that, that's just my take on him.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Let's see what else is in this episode.
Well, one of my favorite things was sort of like the almost redemptive story you get with John Walker, how he comes in and acquiesces to Sam's authority. That was a really cool moment when he's walking back from that, and he looks over at him, and like, you're thinking, what kind of moment are they going to share? And he just goes, like, oh, yes, sir, go ahead, almost like wants to salute him. He's so impressed with him. I don't know why it's being so problematic today. It's never like this. Oh, wow, that's a bad one.
For look.
Oh, sorry. We cut out again. I apologize.
No, it's okay. That's the thing I think a lot of people overlook with John Walker. Because everyone's like, oh, John Walker, but he's the big villain, isn't he? Oh, we're all supposed to hate him? It's like, no.
No, but that's not what I mean. I mean, just like in how he saw himself, right? He was down on himself. He had nothing to stand up on to be proud of, or and he found a place for him to exist, a place where he felt like he belonged. That mantle wasn't for him, and to see him give it up to Sam and be sort of like deferential to him and say, yes, you got this, it is what it is, was really kind of cool, because it was undeniable in that moment towards the end where he has that moment with the TV cameras that he deserved the mantle.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm actually thinking of because the other thing people talk about is like, when John decides to save the people, instead of going after Kylie, when Kylie again tries to murder innocent people, which is again Kylie's whole thing. It's like, which is where Kylie's naivete comes into it, because she is very righteous in her indignation. And maybe this is a bunch of old Gen Xers looking at Zennials and saying, you kids don't understand how complex the world is. But really, that is actually even the underlying theme of this, because, again, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but, like, when John Walker makes that decision to save the truck, that's a no-brainer for John.
Right. And the thing is, right now, he's not burdened by the responsibility of living up to something. He's just himself. And when he doesn't have that other added, thing of ego to protect, or like this image to uphold, or this or that, he's just himself. He does the right thing. It's not that he's a bad guy. He was just put in a position he did not belong in, that was not leveraging his strength and his skills.
Well, exactly, and as I pointed out to other people, for as much as anyone wants to say the Flag Smashers, were positives, they were trying to kill John Walker and Sam Wilson. They were using knives, as John Walker says. What's with all the knives? That is deadly force, and these people are throwing these knives with super soldier strength at everybody. And it's a little disingenuous. Now, yes, and this is where proportional responses come in. When the Flag Smashers is on the ground and saying, I didn't do it. First off, he was a part of that, but more to the point is that's when you don't use deadly force, you use some sort of restraining force. And that's where it gets to show this was excessive. And that was the problem, is he used excessive force in that moment. But at the same time, outside of that war zone mentality, when he actually sees civilians in danger to save, he's going to save the civilians, because that is who he is still. For all of the darkness in his portrayal, he's still human, and he's still going to do the right thing when innocents are in danger. And that's really the thing. And of course, that is in its own way kind of the difference between John and Kylie, where Kylie says she didn't want to hurt anyone who didn't matter. But of course, well, how could Lamar not matter in this situation? You killed.
Yeah. Who are you to decide?
killed. Well, but if the idea is that she's killed lots of people who were opposing her, and Lamar definitely was opposing her. So she doesn't have to. So she could say, she could be cold and say he was in my way, and you were going to try and stop us, and there was no other way but to kill him.
Right, but then how is that any different from what you are supposed to be fighting? That's the exact same battle Sam was fighting when he was choosing not to fight her and proving to her that this is how you handle it, and you can't handle it this way, and that's what she failed to do. So in fighting the way she was proving everybody else's point that she was in the wrong.
Well, and that is, I think, as I've said, that is the point when you do get Sam's big speech. And he says to, and he's doing his Captain America about, you have to fix it. You have as much power as a mad god or a teenage girl. You have as much power right now to affect things. And in that moment, they actually have, our evil senator make this argument. It's like, well, what are we supposed to do with everyone who came back? And they came back to find people living in their homes who have taken over their businesses and everything they once had just gone and destroyed. Do we just say, oh, sorry, other people are here now? Which is effectively what happened to Jews after the Holocaust and Japanese you can't just try to find this quick solution for the difficult matter that we're dealing with.
Right. Sorry, you cut out for a second. We got right to the part we said, and the Japanese after, and I'm assuming you were going to say the internment camps.
Oh yeah. So that is what wow, we lost a lot there.
Yeah, sorry. I just got that.
It's okay. It's fine. And the Japanese after internment, and lots of other people throughout history who've had their property seized for any reason and sent away. And then when they came back, people just said, no, you don't belong here now. This is our stuff now. And we know that was wrong. We know that what happened to those people were wrong. That when people returning are treated as refugees, we know that's wrong. But at the same time, how do you handle it? And the way you handle it is actually probably not treating everybody, not treating the people who remained as the refugees instead of the people who came back as refugees, but maybe really embracing the fact that we all have to work together still. And how are we going to create equity between those who have stayed and built lives for 5 years and those who have been gone for 5 years? How do we build a structure between us? And that is what Sam calls out the people on. That they're right that it's much more complex than just, don't put people in camps. But it's like, well, someone has to go somewhere, and we have to organize this in some way. But one, to have that quick fix, one, to have it be a snap. That everyone is back, and we're just going to snap our fingers and call it a day. And of course, throughout this is stuff we saw in Far From Home, where and of course, I'm certain that it's a very different situation when it happens in the United States and it happens in less prosperous countries. So I'm sure when Aunt May and Peter come back, it's just a wacky situation where, what are you doing in our apartment? But there's other apartments in New York, in Queens. There's other things they can do, and there probably are resettlement situations in those moments. But for those other people that aren't in the United States, who aren't in these places, and that where we're seeing the problems are in Eastern Europe, and I'm sure there were other problems throughout much of the Third World, or even the Second World, or even parts of the former Soviet blocs, probably those had a harder time dealing with it because culturally those countries never liked having issues with people showing up. So, I mean, there's complexities to all of it, obviously, and exactly how it would play out is, who knows, but it's all a much more complex issue than just the flag smashers are right or the flag smashers are even wrong. It's that there has to be this communication to get to the final analysis. But yeah, so.
And we ought to not dehumanize anybody.
Well, exactly. You need to, and that's really the real ideal situation would be to have people, have representatives of the returned in the conversations about what to do with the returned, and that is the issue, because I'm certain that a lot of returned weren't in that situation, or if they were people who had returned, but were in a status when they returned where it was less. It was more a wacky misunderstanding than it was a real existential problem for them. So, like, if you're a senator and you come back after blipping out, you may not still be a senator, but you still have all of your connections and you still have probably some wealth. So your returning is less problematic. But in that way, you don't have an understanding of what it is to return and not be that. And likewise, if you're one who stayed and are a senator, you don't have an understanding of what it's like to be one who had stayed and now has been kicked out of your apartment by some military force, because it's a little different when you're in that upper echelon of society. So, and that's really what it's about, is that it's not about, this versus that. It's about how do we communicate from the bottom to the top, and how does the top listen to the bottom? How do we get between the mind that conceives and the hand that creates? What is the mediator? That mediator is the heart, and we need that heart. And that's Metropolis, Fritz Lang's masterpiece. So, okay. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode?
No, I think we got to it all.
I like the big barbecue at the end with Bucky hanging out with the kids.
Yeah,
with Sam's sister.
It's just sort of like an example of how people should be talking to each other and how community takes care of each other, and that's what we ought to be doing.
Well, exactly, because that's the thing. People need to communicate. People need to have that conversation, and everyone gets together and everybody dates each other's sisters, and that's what makes a better society. All right, Mozz. I hope you've enjoyed talking to me. I know we've had some audio problems this episode. Now, connections, but what's good, if you're listening and you're having those connection problems, it might be because you have sub-standard headphones, and for that, I suggest you go to tweakedaudio.com, use the coupon code Southgate at checkout, and get a great discount on some fantastic headphones, both wired and wireless, for your listening device. Likewise, use that same coupon code Southgate at checkout over at
Come on. What in the world? This is horrible. Horrible. Oh my God. Hello?
Hey. Hello. What was the last thing you heard?
Hunter Killer. You were just about to get to Hunter Killer. Use that same coupon code at Hunter Killer.
Okay. And you can use that same coupon code over at hunterkiller.com. Help Michelle Gray solve a cold case. Get a cold case delivered to your house. Get a bunch of clues that you get to solve. Stimulate your brain. Save that same deep discount upon checkout. And then when you're done with that, go down into our show notes. Click on the Amazon link. Go to Amazon. Buy whatever the heck you want. Doesn't cost you anything. Helps out the show. And while you're there, check out Pod Life, the book. The book written by the Southgate community of podcasters. It's available both in hard copy in case society falls and in digital copy, which you can use right now while society still exists. And if anyone does any of that, Mozz, and they want to reach out to you and talk to you about that, how can they do so?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzoor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzoor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me that old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Boz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things, possibly Legends of Tomorrow when it comes back, possibly Stargirl when it comes back, definitely Powerpuff Girls when it comes back with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. own Chloe Bennett. At Charlie Esser, that's CHARLIESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Ding!
Thank you, Mozz. All right, ladies and gentlemen. You have listened to one more episode of our show. You have seen things and heard things that hopefully help you understand this world a little bit better. And if not, enough said. All right, me hearties, it's been another episode, another trip across the bounding main. You've heard what we had to say, and hopefully you learned a little something or two. And if not, come back again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arr!
Right on.
All right, thank you, Mozzie.
I was filled with problems, but I think we got through it.
I think we got through it. Just save it, send it over to Phil, let him fix it.
You got it.
Fix it, Phil. That's your job.
Fix it.
All right. Thank you, Mozzie. Let me know what time